Welcome to this meeting of the Policy Planning and Built Heritage Working Party. I don't have to announce myself. I think you know me. So I can kick off saying apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Varley, Councillor Dixon, Councillor Holliday, Councillor Vickers and Councillor Toy.
Thank you. Are there any public questions?
None received.
Thank you. So we move on to the minutes. I take it you've all read the minutes and understood them. Do I have any observations or amendments? I'll go through them. These are on page 1, any on page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. Can I therefore agree that you accept these minutes as a true and accurate record of the meeting? Thank you. Yeah. Proposed by Mr. Brown and seconded by Mr. Fisher, Councillor Fisher. We now move on to the one and only item on the agenda.
Sorry, Chairman, if I just may confirm, there are no items of urgent business.
Oh, sorry.
The next item is declarations of interest.
Yeah, okay. Declarations of interest, are there any? No? Thank you. So we move on to item 6, scoping and options report, design, code and guidance. This report seems, I made a comment earlier, seems to have come quite a bit out of the blue in respect of a number of issues. And I think we have the opportunity today to comment on those issues, raise any concerns that we have in order to determine the recommendation or otherwise. So members, could I have your comments on this particular document?
Jim?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Having recently adopted the local plan, which took some 10 years at full council on the 17th of December, we at least have some foundation with our policies in the local plan as to how we want the district to develop, moving forward. I acknowledge, having read the report, that our design codes are somewhat antiquated. They date back to 2008, and I'm given to understand it was before my time on the council that those design codes were quite innovative, groundbreaking, and have obviously stood the test of time. If the record in dealing with appeals against decisions of the council or anything to go by, they have been interpreted well down the years. I appreciate that other districts within the county are advancing their design code guides, etc. Perhaps interrupted by some uncertainty, let's put it that way, down at Westminster, as the Planning and Infrastructure Bill made its way through the House of Commons. But now that has been passed into law on December 18th, it was all happening that week in December, wasn't it? We know that local authorities, rather than central government, will allow us to formulate our own design guides and codes. I get all the detail in the report, and the various options are very clearly set out, and I thank the officer for his report and for his research. and his diligence on that. But we know that timelines do slip. We are lurching towards a local government reform being mandated in April 2028. Depending on which radio station you listen to, we won't know how that's going to go until at least March, possibly June was mentioned this morning in a debate about whether we should have county council elections or not, etc., and other elections around the country. So the issue for me is that we would be lurching towards local government reform confirmation very probably before we get whichever option we decide to adopt given time. And then we are looking at what other areas are doing, because whichever way you cut local government reform, whether it's a 1, 2 or a 3, we're going to be dealing with our neighbouring district authorities. And as we can see from the report, not everyone approaches design guides and codes in the same way, depending on their local circumstances and not least the stage at which they're at with their local plans. So I think my proposal looking at this report would be for us to take time, for us to have the benefit of our spending review passing into our budget confirmation in February, which is a definite bonus, thinking about best value for our council taxpayers in looking after their pockets. This expense will fall obviously upon council tax revenue, I would think. So it would give us a better opportunity to look at that. And I think for this reason, we should defer this item to the next meeting rather than what we normally do, and is recommend to Cabinet that we adopt one of the recommendations, make a decision today. I think that would be a little bit premature in the circumstances looking at the report. So that would be my take, and I'd like to propose that, Mr. Chairman, today. I'll give way to the members to have their say, but I hope somebody will second that, and that will be the outcome of today's meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. I echo Councillor Brown's comments as regards to our spending and budgeting. So we don't know how much money that we will be able to allocate to this until the spending review is complete. I think we've only just got the government settlement. So at this time, I think we should defer until we know exactly how much money we have to spend on this item, if any, unfortunately. As we know, things are uncertain. Government are not funding councils as they should do. So I think we need to wait until the spending review is done and the budget is settled. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Have any other reports or queries, opinions? So just to confirm, we have a proposal from Councillor Brown that this issue be deferred. Are we saying to the next meeting? Yeah, and that has been seconded by Councillor Fredericks. If I may make a few comments myself, I think there are a number of issues here. There's a timing issue in that basically making decisions now on the basis of standards and codes, it could be very short-lived in the fact that local government reorganisations hopefully is the wrong word, almost certainly will come into being in 2 years' time. I would further make the point that it is unclear what the costs are going to be. So it's almost impossible to budget when you don't know what the costs are, and also it's very difficult to determine the costs when you don't know what you're consulting on. It's as simple as that. I think the last point is it's clear from the document that the other local authorities that participated in the consortium that put together the local plan are at various stages of development of standards and codes, but therefore suggests that it might be in our interest to understand exactly where they are in that respect. And in order to determine whether there is any common thread running through their particular proposal, I think that would be worthwhile. So, do you have any comments on that?
Chairman, sorry to interrupt, if I may, I just wanted as a point of clarity to confirm if it was the next meeting you were looking to defer or the next appropriate meeting, just based on Councillor Brown and your own comments regarding local
Okay.
government reorganisation. The next meeting would be, I believe, the 12th of March. Obviously, the outcome of LGR might still be uncertain at that point.
Councillor Brown, we're being asked the question, is it the next meeting or the next appropriate meeting?
Well, I'm not too sure whether it will or whether it wouldn't be. We're all over the place, aren't we, with what the government are doing. We agree with LGR. I think most of us by now, it's the way it's being implemented that is the issue. We were led to believe pre-Christmas that the 18th of March would probably be the date on which the government say we're going to have 1, 2 or 3 unitaries in Norfolk. I hear whether it was some of the council saying it would be in June for them because they're further down the process or whatever. And I know that LGR hasn't started in some areas yet, I'm led to believe. So this is a rolling programme, I think the minister has said. So yeah, it would be useful to know where we're going if we were meeting on the 21st. If we don't know where we're going, I don't know to what extent that is critical to whether we proceed and select one option to proceed, whether it be, just codes in selected areas, or whether it be, the design guide across whether we do it digitally, which I doubt because that's probably going to be the more expensive option. Or whether, we would have a better idea later in the year what was happening with LGR.
If I could help with that issue,
Yep.
I think from our perspective, given the resourcing in the team, it may be worth having that meeting after we've had a sort of preliminary discussion with potentially a third party consultant, or alternatively we actually reach out to a few neighbouring authorities and get an understanding of a more in-depth understanding of how they started their process and what content they looked at. I think that will then help us to understand moving into a next meeting where, as you say, what option we want to do and how much that might cost. I think you made a good point earlier, Councillor Brown, about the quality of the old design guide. Actually stands up quite well, which I think might, in terms of the financial cost, might help matters slightly. Yeah, we would need to have that discussion with a consultant, maybe internally as well, with DM officers about which areas of design guide are essential to keep as they are, and which are sort of suitable for updating. But as I say, that work hasn't taken place yet, so it might be worth holding on to a meeting until that process has been done.
Yes, I think that's probably the right course of action to take or to follow. I think once we sort of do get a steer on how this is going to proceed, we also need to think about how we will be consulting with members. We've had cross-party meetings on the local plan with members, which has worked very well. In fact, ended up in a unanimous vote to adopt by 30 out of the 40 councils present on the 17th of December, which is testament to that. So I think if we follow that sort of, process, I think what I would like to see is wider engagement with the members before perhaps the 21st of March. I don't know whether the Assistant Director's got a view on this or not, and on a view on the local plan process that we completed in December as well. But I think this is, in a way, to members just as important as the local plan, because we're talking about, what the overall character of the area is going to look like, and we need the design codes to implement that. So we all need to be pretty much on the same page with it. I think not just with the in the working party alone.
If I could just, sorry,
Sorry.
if I could just add to that, I think there's been a bit of discussion about timing and why we're doing it now. I think that a part of it was resourcing in the team, how busy we were with the local plan, and the fact that as we said, the current design guide is actually quite good, and for that iteration of the local plan, it held up quite well. And the spec didn't raise any sort of concerns during the examination at the time. But I think regardless of what is happening with local government review, policy is going to continue on. We will continue to do what we are required to do by the national guidance. So we'll be doing a local plan review in the future, and everything that entails. So doing something like this will help support that future work. So yeah, we could sit and wait for LGL to kick in and in 2028 and kind of just let it happen. But I think we can't do that as the NPPF is dictating. So yeah, and this is a key part of that. And the current sort of consultation on the NPPF has some quite significant changes, especially around development management policies, national development management policies, and I think that's having an updated design guide will reflect that. And I think that's essential and will be helpful to development management officers in the future.
Can I just come back with a thought? As we know, the combined mayoral elections have been deferred from May this year to May 2028. And there was some discussion about the newly elected mayor having powers to look at infrastructure of a planning nature, spatial planning, etc. Sustainable development requirements, etc. Presumably all of that, just for clarity and for people watching remotely as well, here in the room, is that completely, is that role completely separate to what design codes and particularly design guides, more what, over a sort of a more overarching view, are they now completely independent of what the combined mayor will be doing with his newly granted planning powers when he takes office in 2028?
I'm going to look to Mr. Gleeson to see if he might know more than me.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So on that point, specifically, obviously that organisation comes into being in a couple of years' time or starts. That is a little way off. So yeah, absolutely. As a strategic authority, they're going to have a lot of powers. But I think in that intervening 2 years, we shouldn't necessarily rest on our laurels with regards to the local plan. Mention has been made with regards to a sort of a review. Obviously, paper will come back to this group in the first instance to discuss, and we can pick up on that particular issue in that paper. So no, I completely take your point. Absolutely, the things are shifting. But can I, sorry, Chair, whilst I've got the microphone, if I can just, I think the points that have been raised today on this particular item that we're discussing are all very relevant, not least of which spending review, clarity around the expense of this piece of work, clarity around the options that are available, maybe engagement with some consultants to get a better understanding as to what that looks like. Bring that back to this group. I would suggest after the 12th of March, personally. I think we need clarity around what does LGR look like, so we can better inform that paper. But we can bring back, you know, not long after that, a paper that gives a little bit more clarity around this particular topic. Well done on your local plan. Sorry, I'm taking no credit for that whatsoever, but this is an amazing piece of work and you should all be congratulated. Sorry, whilst I've got the mic, I'm through you, Chair. I think it's an absolutely superb place to be. Great policies, not least of which on this topic, on this agenda item. And you do have a design code in place, or design guide rather, but certainly when it was first published and it has stood the test of time, has been a very, you know, hats off, a very credible and very good quality piece of work, and it has significantly influenced the quality and design of developments here in North Norfolk for a good period of time. So there's no great urgency as such, and I think that's been reflected in your conversation today. But I think that those officers need to go away and do a little bit more research and give it a little bit more clarity and bring that back to a future meeting, so that you're furnished with a bit more detail. But I completely take on board the financial aspect of this. Yeah, it's not to be dismissed, not to be taken lightheartedly. So hopefully that's answered your question and given a little bit more detail.
Thank you for that, Councillor. I support that. I mean, I've made my points very clear to the planning team. I think this is an excellent piece of work and a very detailed piece of work. Coming back to the recommendation that we may or may not make to the cabinet meeting, sorry, Councillor Frederick, yes?
Can I suggest that we ask that the Assistant Director brings back the paper when he feels it's appropriate to hear as a recommendation, because then he'll have all the information, the paper will be complete.
Councillor Brown, are you happy with that? It was your proposal?
Yes, I mean, I'm quite happy to support that. You know, no real desire to sort of fix it in stone for the next meeting. I think it's, you know, what's important is that we revisit it, you know, at a more appropriate time. But certainly after the budget is adopted in February, I think is key for me.
But the question is, what is a more appropriate time?
Well, I'll leave that in the hands of the Assistant Director and his planning policy team, because you know, I don't want to in any way dictate. I think I've been badgering the planning policy team for a good number of years now over the local plan, and they've been absolutely fantastic with the work that they've done.
Yep.
I can't congratulate them enough. So I don't think they need any more, you know, interference from me at this stage on this particular item, Mr. Chairman, if I can put it that way.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. So would it, going back to the recommendation, would it be appropriate to say that the members are looking for more information in terms of a number of points that have been raised today, and that it would be appropriate to meet in March to review the progress of that, having deferred it today?
Thank you, Chair. I think that might be a little premature. So I think the wording should be that we recommend that we bring back the report on when the Assistant Director indicates that the report is ready.
Okay. Okay. So that
I would
is,
second that, Mr. Chairman.
okay, that is the proposal, that we bring back it when it's at a more appropriate time, when the report is available, detailing the issues that we've raised. Is that acceptable? Okay. So I don't know whether we need to vote on this, but I guess that there is a consensus. I don't think there are any objections to that. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So with that, I propose to close the meeting. Thank you.